Hello, I'm Rosie Vision. I like to make videos about traditionally girly media. I say girly as an umbrella term, and obviously anyone can enjoy these works. I like to take a closer look and discuss them with you all, but admittedly through slightly rose-tinted glasses. After all, we all deserve a little magic in our life. Today we'll be looking at LoliRock, a French animated magical girl series. I watched LoliRock for the first time a few years ago when it was on Netflix for the first time, and I was blown away by the beautiful art style and just how faithful of a magical girl adaptation the show was. I did feel like I was slightly too old for the target demographic even then, but I know that if I watched LoliRock when I was younger, I'd be absolutely obsessed. I dropped it a little after the second season because it was too formulaic for me. I used to be able to watch Monster of the Week shows, but I'm not as patient anymore. However, after hearing about some of the stuff that happens in the second season, I really wanted to give the show a second chance. And I'm glad I did. I think it's a pretty solid show with some interesting turns. Not without its faults, of course, but a fun ride overall. LoliRock is a great introduction to what the magical girl genre has to offer, in my opinion. Before we get into what makes the show special, let's get a little more information on the series as a whole. Jean-Louis Van de Stok, the director, producer, and one of the creators, grew up watching anime that aired on French channels, and the show that made him want to pursue animation was none other than magical princess Minky Momo. When Van de Stok had the opportunity to create a French magical girl series, his main references were Sailor Moon and Pretty Cure. And as I suspected, LoliRock's musical plotline drew inspiration from an American series, Gem and the Holograms. LoliRock was eventually born and aired from 2014 to 2017. It was co-created by both Jean-Louis Van de Stok and David Michel. LoliRock had 2 seasons, with 52 episodes total. The show was originally in French and later got dubbed into other languages. The second season ended on a cliffhanger, but apparently LoliRock was incredibly expensive to make, so it's never gotten renewed for another season. Despite this, LoliRock continues to be a fan favorite between animation fans, and especially fans of the magical girl genre to this day. By the way, LoliRock is a mashup of the words lol, e, meaning and rock. Now that we got all the more boring stuff out of the way, what is the series even about? Iris is a young girl who loves to sing, but every time she does, something strange happens. One day, she meets 2 girls named Talia and Auriana, who tell her that she is actually a princess from another world called Alfea. A powerful sorcerer named Gramorr betrayed her parents, the king and queen of Alfea, when she was just a baby. He tried to seize the crown of Alfea, but its gems were scattered across Earth and Gramorr was sealed within the castle. The king and queen sent Iris to Earth until she would be old and strong enough to fight back. Talia and Auriana are princesses from Alfea sent to Earth in order to train Iris now that her magic has manifested. Together they form a band called LoliRock and fight against Gramorr and his minions, 2 twins named Praxina and Mephisto. LoliRock's mission is to collect the missing oracle gems from the crown of Alfea so that its full power can be restored. Once armed with the crown, Iris should be strong enough to face off against Gramorr. That's pretty much the gist of the show, so let's take a closer look at all the details, starting with the characters. Iris is our main character and the lost princess of Alfea. She was raised on Earth by her adoptive guardian, Aunt Ellen. Iris is probably the character that seems the least interesting to me, at least personality-wise, but I still like her nonetheless. She adapted to the responsibility placed on her shoulders really well, and she is a super quick thinker. Iris's powers are based on emotions, but it's never really explained why. But I do really admire how empathetic Iris is. She always puts people's problems above her own and is there to help whenever needed. Talia is Princess of Sirius and probably my favorite princess personally. She's the most serious and responsible of the group, constantly making sure that everyone keeps up with magical training. But she never comes off as particularly mean or unlikable. It's clear just how much she cares for the people around her. And there is a reason why Talia seems so uptight all the time. But I'll save that for the spoiler section. On to Auriana. Auriana is the Princess of Volta. She's super bubbly, sociable, and a bit boy-obsessed. So she works as a foil to Talia. They're pretty much complete opposites, but they still get along really well. I really appreciated how even though Auriana comes across as the perky girl stereotype, there's a bit more to her than that. She has her serious moments and understands other people's emotions really well. And although Auriana does come across as kind of airheaded sometimes, she does have an excuse. She's on a new planet that she knows very little about. It's fun watching her experience Earth through new eyes. What good would a magical girl series be without a cute mascot? Amaru is LoliRock's pet and team mascot. It's never really explained what he is, but the girls try to pass him off as a purple cat. He's pretty cute, and he even manages to be incredibly useful. Amaru has multiple abilities. He can transform into a sort of Pegasus-like creature that allows the girls to fly. Flying quickly to different locations, as well as during battle, proves to be useful on many occasions. Besides that, Amaru is also able to create a portal to a dimensional space called the Battle Arena. This solves an issue I have with a lot of magical girl and even action series. That being, main characters battling intensely and heavily populated areas. How do those places stay standing? And don't people get hurt or notice what's going on? Not a problem here though. The Battle Arena is the perfect place for LoliRock to fight without fear of endangering anyone or giving away their identities. So all in all, Amaru is a pretty good addition to the team. There isn't really any depth to his character, but he doesn't really need it. Nathaniel is Iris's love interest. I don't really have much to complain about with him. I'll get more into his relationship with Iris later, but overall, I felt kind of indifferent towards his character. He's a good person, and I feel like how he reacts to relationship problems that arise due to Iris's mission makes sense. But I will admit, whenever he was on screen, I was counting down the moments until the focus would go elsewhere. He's just not as interesting as the rest of the characters, which makes sense considering he's just a normal guy. Your average Joe, you might say. As far as average Joes go, he's okay. Nothing he ever did upset me, and I felt for him whenever he was going through something. But for me personally, I could live without his character. Aunt Ellen is Iris's adoptive guardian. She doesn't really show up that much most of the time, and is good-spirited to a fault. She never seems to get upset or concerned about anything, and is pretty horribly oblivious to the girls' secret lives as magical princesses. We do learn more about her in the second season, but once again, I'll save that for the spoiler section. Now that we know our main cast, let's move on to the villains, shall we? Praxina is the more reliable evil twin. It's never really clear why the twins are evil, and what they get out of helping Gramorr, but Praxina seems to enjoy causing destruction and chaos to the world. Praxina is always getting mad at Mephisto for her incompetence, but it's still made very clear that she still loves her brother dearly. She has a pretty heavy Valley Girl accent for some reason, which was distracting.
Shanila is the perfect time to get Iris. She's weak.
But since it's Kelly Sheridan, the voice of Barbie and Starlight Glimmer, I'll allow it. I'm glad I got to see something else she voiced in. Mephisto made this show for me personally. On paper, he's just the comic relief character that is just too dim-witted to be believable. And honestly, his jokes aren't even that funny. But his voice actor's delivery absolutely carries the show.
Yes, our new plan is gonna work. Even if it doesn't work.
What is going to work or not work?
If it had been anyone else, I probably would find Mephisto annoying. But as it stands, he is actually my favorite character. The main reason why I continued the series was just to see more of him and Praxina. I loved their sibling dynamic, and it always seemed like there was more to Mephisto than what we were given in the show. He's helped the princesses on multiple occasions, and just doesn't seem to be as malicious as his sister. I have more to say about him and Praxina, but that gets into spoiler territory, so we'll save that for later. Gramorr is the big baddie of the series. Most of the time, he honestly just feels like Queen Beryl from Sailor Moon. He constantly relies on bad help to fight against his enemies. But it sort of makes sense, at least. Gramorr is unable to leave the Ephedian castle, so he has no choice but to send out minions to fight against LoliRock. He's okay as a villain. I really like his design, but most of the time, he doesn't really feel threatening at all, because of how much trust he puts into the twins time and time again. However, there were times in the season 1 and 2 finale where I was actually shocked with just how evil some of his actions were, considering the rest of the show is so lighthearted. Okay, finally, we have a good understanding of the plot and our characters. I'm going to talk about my thoughts on the series as a whole now, starting with things I didn't like. We're not in heavy spoiler territory yet, but we're getting there. I'll give you a warning just in case you haven't seen the show yet and you want to go in blind. I actually don't have too much to complain about when it comes to the series, so this section will be brief. I mentioned this before, but LoliRock is too formulaic for my liking. It's part of the reason why I dropped it originally. It felt like nothing was happening most of the time, but it did really remind me of classic Sailor Moon, which it's inspired by. So it makes sense. If you're looking for something similar to classic Sailor Moon, then LoliRock is probably a great series to try. But personally, I'm not too big on Monster of the Week shows. Even when I was obsessed with Sailor Moon back in the day, I found it a bit too much. To put things into perspective, there's probably only around a dozen episodes of LoliRock that you need to watch in order to get all the important plot points out of a 52-episode series. So keep that in mind if that's something that bugs you. However, I do think LoliRock is a great feel-good series to put on when you don't want to get super invested and just want to relax. The other main thing that bugs me about the series would be the romance storyline. To be clear, it's far from the worst I've ever seen. Iris and Nathaniel genuinely care about each other, and I think they actually are good as a couple. There's no unwarranted drama, and they don't intentionally hurt each other or anything, which is great. The two pair up about halfway through, I think, and they have a healthy relationship. Their only issue is that Iris is constantly running off on missions, but I think they handled it pretty well. The problem that I personally have with the romance subplot is that it didn't add anything for me. You could take out that part of the series and I wouldn't really care. It's just not that entertaining. And to be clear, most of the media I consume is in the romance genre. And I'm normally the first person to want more romance than any other kind of series. I just really love seeing two people growing close to one another, regardless of whether it's in a romantic way or not. And I never felt that these two characters just had to be together. Granted, this is a show intended for younger audiences, but still, I wasn't really rooting for them to get together like I do when I watch other shows or films for that same age demographic. Honestly, I was so invested in Alfea and the fight against Gramorr that I didn't really feel the need for romance in this series. However, I do think that LoliRock is a good stepping stone for introducing those kinds of storylines to young viewers. It's handled rather inoffensively, but it's kind of boring to me personally. Last thing I'll complain about for now, underused characters. Lena and Carissa are two more princesses that are introduced at the end of the first season. The series kind of teases the idea of them becoming main characters. They help out on missions and hang out with the rest of the girls in the second season, and I really liked them. I was super excited for them to become a part of the team. But that never happened, and they became more of an afterthought than anything. They could have even joined LoliRock. Apparently, magic and singing ability are linked together for the princesses, so we can assume that they both are capable of singing. It would have added more intrigue to the series if they had been used more, and I was super disappointed that they were so underused. Especially since Kelly Sheridan also voices Lena. I love her so much. Oh yeah, quick note. There's only a handful of voice actors on the English dub, so that may be distracting for some. But I doubt younger watchers would notice. The voices are just different enough. I assume the small voice cast was due to budget restrictions, so I don't really count it too much as a negative. They did the best with what they had, and the end result is pretty impressive. That's it for the things I didn't really care for now. Now let's move on to what I think was done well, which is a lot. Probably the biggest thing I love about this series is the art direction. This is such a beautiful series. It's why I decided to give it a watch in the first place. The character designs are so cute and colorful, but it still looks quite different from other animation I've watched. I loved the colored lines and the way the eyes are drawn. And the backgrounds are absolutely gorgeous. Take a look at some of these background stills. And the fashion for LoliRock is on point too. I even really like what the twins wear. You can see butterflies worked into both of their outfits. I'm not going to go into too much detail breaking down what LoliRock wears, mostly because I'm not confident in my fashion knowledge at all, so I'll just add a quick slideshow of the outfits so you can see for yourself. And how could I touch on outfits without talking about the transformations? I really liked the transformations for this series. It would have been nice to see some variations on the way they transform in the second season, because 52 episodes is a lot. But once again, I feel like this was a budget issue, so I'm not mad about it. I'll start off by saying I love the music that's used when they transform. It's whimsical, but it also feels triumphant and a little bit mystical. The wandering melody and strings, haunting background choir, and exciting drum sound accomplishes this. I also think the sound effects were done really well. There are drawn-out cymbal rolls, upward-moving strings, and delicate twinkling sounds that go in time perfectly to the transformation song, and it actually adds to the musical quality. I'll use Auriana as an example because I think hers is done the best sound effect-wise. As Auriana taps her legs gently for her boots to appear, you can hear twinkling pitched percussion match in time to this movement. Then there's a well-timed cymbal roll and crash when her armlets appear. When Auriana's hair is growing and changing color, there's an exciting upward sweep of strings, which ends in a satisfying cymbal crash, which makes the frame that shows off her long orange ponytail more triumphant. Long story short, the transformations are pretty amazing in my book sound-wise. Visually, it isn't super unique, though it is pleasing to watch. My favorite part of the sequence is probably the way they transform their hair. It's just so satisfying to watch, and it looks really pretty. There are transformations for Lena and Carissa. They're short and sweet. I would have preferred a longer transformation, but they were kind of sidelined, so that wasn't meant to be. The song is nice though. Now for the transformation outfits themselves. I think they look really cute. My favorite transformation outfits are Auriana and Iris's. The outfits are nothing groundbreaking, but still really recognizable. Probably the best additions are the transparent, shimmering trains. They're so flowy. I do think the hair feels a bit much for me color-wise, but I was okay with Lena and Carissa for some reason. I don't know why. Let me know what you think. I really loved the music in this series. It has a great musical score that feels both whimsical and epic when it needs to be, and it has a really refreshing feel to it in general. And then of course there are the songs that LoliRock performs. There are 10 total, and each one has a full-length music video that you can watch on YouTube. Once again, I feel like my younger self would have been absolutely obsessed with these songs. But I personally prefer the score. Still, the style of music LoliRock sings works really well for the series. To me, it feels like a mix between electronic and bubblegum pop, and it suits the age demographic really well. But the vocals are mixed a little too thin for my personal taste, though stylistically it works. LoliRock has a crystal theme to it, so having vocals that sound airy and warped is on brand. I just prefer a more raw, untouched sound over a heavily processed one personally. I kinda would have liked to hear at least one or two full-length acoustic versions of the songs. I think it would have balanced out things more nicely. But even though it sounds like I'm bashing on the songs, I actually don't think they're bad at all. I just wish there was more variety. My personal favorites would probably be the opening, which is called Higher, and BFF. Even after 52 episodes, I still loved hearing the opening, and it didn't get old for me. I personally really like the way that magic was used in the series. The magic is crystal themed, and the spells are in Latin. There's a variety of uses for spells, and a good chunk of the series shows LoliRock actually training in magic and combat. That was a nice touch. It made it seem like the girls are actually fighting to protect the world. Also, a lot of things that normally wouldn't make sense in other series are explained through magic. For example, why don't the twins attack LoliRock while they're at home? It's not like they don't know their human identities. That's because of a magical barrier they placed at Iris's house. Only guests approved by the girls are able to pass through. Also, the girls are able to pass off magic as special effects at their concerts. While I don't think that would fly in real life, it's a cool concept and lends to some really interesting visuals. I also loved the whole concept of Shanila. That was creative. Shanila is a time period for girls when they transition to a stronger magic level. It's marked by a sudden disappearance of hair and a weak disposition. Once they achieve the next power level, their hair grows back instantly, better than ever. I liked that. It was creative. So while the magic system isn't super innovative most of the time, I think the way LoliRock implements magic in its story works nicely. Overall, I really enjoyed watching LoliRock. I loved the character dynamic between the main three girls, and the twins were fun. It's a beautifully animated show that's really easy to watch and made me feel at ease. And it's clear from all the anime references sprinkled here and there that the creators of LoliRock made the show as an homage and love letter to magical girls. If you haven't watched LoliRock yet, I think you should give it a chance. If you absolutely can't stand the formulaic filler episodes, I have a short list of episodes you can watch to get all the important plot points of the series in the description. So check that out if you're interested. That'll be all for the spoiler-free section. I'd like to talk about the series finale as well as some interesting character development we got to see play out. So if you're worried about major spoilers, now is the time to stop the video. Okay, you've been warned. Spoilers section ahoy. First things first, I love Talia and Auriana's backstories. It was a lot darker than expected, but not in a bad way. Alfea is facing war after all. Some horrible stuff is going to happen. We'll start with Talia. Talia wasn't always the disciplined and serious girl that we come to know in the series. When Talia was young, she was much more free-spirited. Talia tried to sneak out to go to a festival. Her sister Azira catches her, but decides to let her go. But just to be safe, Azira gives Talia her medallion. Azira's medallion is extremely powerful, probably the strongest item in the whole show, honestly. Talia goes on her merry way, but something horrible happens when she's gone. Talia discovers that Gramorr attacked her family during her absence, and now Talia is the only one left. From that day on, Talia vowed to become more like her older, more responsible sister. And Talia also volunteered to help train Iris so that they can defeat Gramorr. Talia didn't see her sister again until years later, so she could only assume the worst. I really like this backstory for Talia. It gives a reason for her neuroticism and cold exterior. Talia's lost her family, and feels like her own carelessness was the reason for it. If Azira had the medallion that she gave to Talia, then her family might not have been captured. I really loved Talia's character, so it was nice understanding why she is the way she is. It makes seeing her character growth more satisfying. Now for Auriana. She has a similar backstory. Her family was also taken hostage by Gramorr when she was young. Luckily, her brother helped Auriana escape, but he wasn't so lucky. Auriana deals with this trauma differently than Talia. Auriana is super bubbly and always having fun and living in the moment. But beneath all that, she obviously misses her family terribly and feels guilty. It's really heartbreaking seeing her reunite with her brother under such bad circumstances in Season 2. Her brother was being used by Gramorr to take down LoliRock. He's working with Gramorr to keep the rest of his family safe. He does help out Auriana in the end, but at the cost of sacrificing himself once again for her. This was really touching and added a lot of dimension to Auriana. We see she has her own struggles and how she deals with guilt of what happened to her brother. Another thing I really appreciated seeing more of was Aunt Ellen. I really didn't think her character was that great at first. The writers made her seem kinda dumb, honestly, because of the fact that she didn't figure out the girls' secret, even when he was so incredibly obvious at times. And she didn't really seem too responsible either. Aunt Ellen was just kinda there at first, but luckily the writers had plans for her. Turns out Aunt Ellen is actually from Alfea. She was sent by the Queen to watch over Iris and is actually a very capable warrior. And the only reason why she hasn't revealed herself is because the Queen ordered her to keep her identity a secret. After all, it'd be easier to find Iris if Ellen's true identity was known. Obviously, there's no need for that anymore since Gramorr knows about Iris now, but Aunt Ellen continued to keep her identity a secret out of respect for the Queen, which makes sense. I kinda wish we got to see more of an Aphelian Ellen. It was cool to see someone older join the fight, and she's just way more interesting this way. Let's talk about what happened to Lev, shall we? I think he's dead, honestly. And for some reason, no one seems to care. To explain, Lev is one of Gramorr's henchmen. He was first introduced in Season 1. It's revealed that Lev was only working for Gramorr in exchange for freedom. So when Iris meets Lev again in Season 2, she's very skeptical of him. Despite this, Lev is able to successfully trick Iris into going straight to Gramorr. Without much surprise, Gramorr goes back on his deal with Lev. Lev has a change of heart and rushes to save Iris alongside Auriana and Talia. Lev seems to have actually changed for good this time, and he even mentions how he wants to join the Resistance. This is what we wanted to see all along. We all knew that Lev was a good guy. He was just taken advantage of by Gramorr, but now he's tired of it. Thanks to Lev, the girls are able to escape from Gramorr, but he stays behind. Gramorr shoots an extremely powerful attack at Lev, and the last we ever see of him is a slight smile as he braces himself for the attack. And that's that. We never see him again. I don't even think he's mentioned again. And just a minute or two later, the girls throw a concert without a care in the world. I'm pretty sure Lev was killed, and I wish there was more of a reaction from someone. Or at least a concerned mention of his name here and there. I would have added this to my dislike list, but it's too spoiler heavy. One more topic before we get to the finale. Praxina turning good. I think this was a really cute episode. Praxina loses her memory, and the LoliRock girls decide to take this opportunity to lead her down the path of good. Praxina was really adorable trying to be a model citizen, and nice to everyone. And honestly, I really wanted to see why the twins work for Gramorr in the first place. The writing seems to hint at there actually being a valid reason. And God, I want to know so bad. I love the twins, and it's clear that they're actually good-hearted deep down. Seeing Mephisto so heartbroken by losing his sister to LoliRock, and Praxina giving up her newfound friends to be with her brother was super sweet. Even though the twins fight all the time, these two love each other so much. So clearly, they're not pure evil. It really makes you wonder about how they become Gramorr's henchmen in the first place. And finally, time for the last topic. The finale. A lot happened, and honestly, I'm still processing it. Let's summarize what happened first. The quest to retrieve all the gems is almost complete. There's only one Oracle gem left, so LoliRock prepares to go back to Alfea. This means Iris has to say goodbye to Nathaniel. The twins hatch a plan to steal the last Oracle gem by managing to sneak into LoliRock's secret library. During all this drama, Nathaniel finally confesses to Iris properly, and they officially become an item. The twins are successful and manage to divert the last Oracle gem away from the crown. So LoliRock heads to Alfea to collect it. Just as the girls are about to obtain the final gem, the twins snatch it away and give it to Gramorr. Gramorr has succeeded, and his power is restored. Iris, Auriana, Talia, Lena, and Carissa battle against Gramorr to save Alfea. During this, Mephisto saves Praxina, and presumably he died doing so. We'll get back to that. Using her full power, Iris is able to defeat Gramorr. And you'd think the worst is behind us, but it's not over yet. Praxina is completely overwhelmed with grief. She's then visited by Baines, Gramorr's familiar. Baines gives her Gramorr's mask. The princesses celebrate, thinking the battle is over. They finally get to see their families again after all these years. But Praxina returns more powerful than ever. She promises to seek vengeance by attacking Earth, which means that once more, Iris, Talia, and Auriana are forced to go back to Earth to keep it safe from Praxina. And that's the end of the series. I'll say this, I think it was a very exciting and well-executed finale. I really like it, minus one aspect. What's the deal with Mephisto? I was legit angry at points while watching the finale. As I mentioned earlier, Mephisto made the show for me, and at points throughout the finale, we can see that he starts to have second thoughts about working for Gramorr, which confirms that the twins aren't really evil after all. Although I'm obviously heartbroken that he's gone, I was willing to accept his death as a plot point. I think it'll be interesting seeing Praxina as an actually evil villain, hell-bent on avenging her brother because of how heartbroken she is. That makes for a great story. But I think Mephisto's death was brushed over way too much. LoliRock sees what happens, and they just don't seem to care. They may have fought against the twins, but they were practically friends, especially with Mephisto, who helped them multiple times.
No, you deserve it. If I weren't completely dedicated to your annihilation, it would be an honor to serve you as Queen of Alfea.
And it's got to be shocking seeing someone you know die so suddenly. But not one tear was shed, nor was one word said. All we get is Iris telling Praxina how it's sad what happened when she turns evil. I feel like there should have been way more emotion behind this plot twist. Praxina is the only one who reacts in a way you'd expect, and it really does feel like she's the only one who cared about his death, which just rubs me the wrong way. Mephisto deserved better. Rest in peace, my guy. I'll give you the moment of silence the show wouldn't give you. The one you deserved. I know I sound pretty upset about the finale, but I still really love LoliRock and would love to see it continue. I just had to get all that off my chest. I love Mephisto too much to say nothing, but I think I feel a little better now, thank God. And please let me know if you think they did Mephisto dirty too. But please be sure to add spoiler warnings for any new watchers if you do. That'll do it for this video. This video was in the works for a long time, but it's finally out. Thank you for watching, especially if you made it this long. If you'd like to see more videos from me, then please subscribe so you can join me for the ride to come. And if you'd like to support the channel, then consider donating to my Ko-fi page. I'll have the link in the description. And if you'd like to make sure I'm still alive between uploads, then give a follow to my new Instagram. Hope you have a nice day. Times are tough, so don't forget to keep a little magic in your life. Till next time, guys. Bye.